Merry Christmas again, everyone. Thank you for staying the course on the program. Let's talk about just how unique this Christmas is with the development in faraway Gaza. Reverend John Kome, senior pastor, God's Kingdom Christian Center, is a former senatorial candidate for Lagos East. Thank you so much for joining us on the program, and Merry Christmas to you.
Same to you too.
You know, I was just talking about how this year's Christmas is a perfect Jesus story of how, you know, a displaced family left a region of Jerusalem because of the Roman Empire invasion at the time. And that was how Jesus was born in a manger, you know, because they couldn't find a room for him. King Herod also ordered the massacre of some children at the time. We understand that 8,000 children have now been killed in the ongoing war in Gaza. Are you able to draw a parallel between, you know, the Roman Empire invasion 2,000 years ago and what we're currently experiencing in Palestine?
Thank you, and Merry Christmas, fellow Nigerians. I wish Nigerians the best of Christmas, because while we're talking about war in Gaza between the Palestinians and the, Hamas and the Israelis, here in Nigeria we're at peace, so we must be grateful to God. Back to your question, yes, there's great similarity, and if you look at history, incidental based student of history, religious history, you discover that as at the time Jesus was born, and that is Christmas, there was a little bit of a festivity, because it was a festivity that made a lot of people go to Bethlehem. So the hotels were all filled up. Some historical students say it was a war, but no, it was the festival that took people to Bethlehem. So because of the massive movement of people for the celebration, as at that time, there was no hotel for Jesus' mother and father Joseph they have no choice than to give birth to him in a manger. But having said that, you discover that there's a similarity, because as at that time too, the Roman Empire was at war, a mini war with the Jews. So, and Herod, hearing that a king is to be born or is being born that will so-called replace him, displace him, he felt bad, and he wanted, you know, that child at all costs to be killed. So the similarity there is that there was some, I call it political upheaval, because Herod felt that a king is coming to displace him. Now we look at what's happening at the moment in Gaza. Not only in Gaza, also in West Bank, because Jesus was born in Bethlehem, and Bethlehem is in West Bank.
Indeed.
So incidentally, something similar to about 2,000 years ago is playing off again.
Very, very interesting way you put it, particularly when you consider the fact that, you know, one pastor in Bethlehem recently mentioned that if Jesus was born at this time, he probably will be in a rubble in, you know, in Palestine. But I also know that this conflict has taken some sort of a religious dimension outside the Middle East. There are Christians who would favor Israel, and there are Muslims who would take sides with Gaza, you know. But in Israel, as we speak, there are even more Muslims than Christians. They practice more of Judaism
In that place.
and there's also a little population, a small population of Christians in Gaza. What do you think should be the response, you know, from the religious bodies, especially on Christmas Day? In this regard?
I want to say this very clear. In the first place, I've said it in several media in the last 2 months, or 2 months now, when the conflict started, that this conflict should not be seen as a religious war. The reason is that Israeli people practice their Judaism. They practice Judaism. They don't practice Christianity. For example, in Gaza, there are only about 1,000 Christians in Gaza. Only 1,000 Christians. Go and check. Only about 1,000 Christians in Gaza. There are more of Muslim community, and the few Jewish people who are in Gaza, they are practicing Judaism, not even Christianity. It will suffice you to note that if you go to the Jewish communities or enclave, and you talk about Jesus as the Savior, they will laugh at you and say, "You are very stupid. You are worshiping our brother Jesus," because they are not Christians. They are more of Judaism. Only a minute number of population of the Israelis are Christians. So in the first place, let's move our mindset that it is a religious war. It isn't Christian or Muslim war. That's number one. Then number two, you realize that even at West Bank, the population of Christians are only 50,000. Others are Muslims and also Jews and some people who migrated to that area who are practicing different philosophical beliefs. So the fact remains that at this point in time, while we get religion out of it, we look at the historical fact of why there's a conflict in that particular place. Because so many people in the world says it is because of the occupation. It's not because of maybe Christians or Muslim or Judaism or any other Hinduism or any other practice, a religious practice. It's just about the occupation. It's just about who owns the land. The land.
Yes. And that's very interesting history because, Bible times, there are nations like Israel and Judah and what have you. But even in Bible time, we found out that with the Roman invasion, Jews became a minority.
Sure.
And then in the Middle Ages, these areas were taken over, by Islamic nations and what have you. The creation of Israel in
the Arab nations.
Sorry, the Arab nations, yes. So to speak. Well, they practice mostly.
Yeah, they practice
Islam. And then the establishment of Israel, in 1947, is where Hamas takes its bitterness from. But let us talk about how you think united the world has been to bring peace back to this region. The United Nations Security Council recently, voted in favor of what they call an humanitarian ceasefire.
Okay.
And of course, the two-state solution, we're going to talk about that too. But what do you think, because there are concerns about the inability of the Security Council to condemn the Hamas invasion of the 7th of October. How critical is that in all of this?
That's one of the things that we have to look at. I just recently, a few days ago, the former American President Barack Obama gave a speech about that. In the first place, he is not happy that the conflict is going on and thousands of souls are being wasted who have not, these deaths, these people that are wasted, these lives that are wasted, have nothing to do with Hamas either. These are innocent Palestinians who are dying because of the October invasion by Hamas. So in the first place, like I